All right, good evening, guys. Ken of Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for, let's see, March 13th, 2023. Just, where's my standby? God dang it. All right, we'll start with the swing trade review. So you'll recall at the end of last week, we exited all of the open positions. I didn't want to carry any risk overnight. Wasn't sure what the government would do with the regional bank meltdowns, and I didn't want to be on the wrong side of a gap. It mostly gapped down. There was some work in the futures that looked like there was going to be a gap up, but it was mostly gap down and early weakness. But it felt good not worrying at all about that and gave me a chance to trade deliberately today. Was not in a hurry to do so. So Alcoa gap down is starting to roll over. This is a candidate for more weakness tomorrow. I did not trade it or have any position in it at the close. Next one is Caterpillar. Again, we closed a triple position on that one. It gapped down, sold off. It also is in a nice critical state position for tomorrow, but no position intraday or overnight. Caterpillar, same thing. I did take CVS short intraday. Remember, this has been a giant Godzilla to the downside. It closed poorly on Friday, gap down, monkeyed around, hit the PSAR, and then it started breaking down earlier than almost everything. And so there was no compelling reason to go long. So we went short at the RLXD with the standard risk box. And it closed right here. So we're about +1 in hand. And then if this breaks down below the 10-day low, I would look to add a position on that one. I think that one's pretty safe. Diamonds basically sideways. There was weakness in Devon Energy. This is one I think I missed. I think there was room in here to get short, and it's testing that low. I'll be ready to go on that one tomorrow as soon as it breaks below the RL10 and add a position if it breaks below the 10-day low, but no position intraday, nothing overnight. Electronic Arts was one of the lone areas of actual strength. It sold off, had a morning hook. Then it was the first one to break the PSAR to the upside, so it just ventured a little bit. Standard risk. It actually did this and recovered, and as it was coming back, I just said that was enough to capture +1. I didn't want any overnight risk on it, so that was a one-day gift. Emerging markets, actually one of the better indexes. The open was here. It did not sell off much. It flipped early and still closed above the PSAR level. So this is one that I think if it gets above 38.10, we could get long on that one tomorrow with an idea of it coming up to test this gap. If it gets through this gap at 38.55, then it could make this move to 38.85. And then failure would be below 37.80, so I'd be willing to go short from here. Second position on a break of the 10-day low. But no trade intraday or overnight on that one. Mexico, this was a morning hook that was tradable on the intraday to the PSAR, and then it pulled all the way back. This is, actually, I'm sorry, closed here. This is what I'm ready to trade from a zero state tomorrow. Long from 55.70, short from 55.20. That one looks like that should be a mover tomorrow. Brazil was weaker than Mexico. It failed quickly at the edge of the dragon on this break, this double break of the RL10s, got short with a risk box at the PSAR. So that's only about a 15-cent risk. And it sold off sharply and then closed here. So we're about +1 in hand. Wouldn't be surprised to see more weakness. I'll add a second position at 26.40. Intel, remember this, now the semis last week had this unusually strong move while everything else was melting. We didn't hold it over the weekend though. This sold off, had a morning hook and had one run up, but then came back and closed poorly. That run may be done. This will be one of the bellwethers. If there's any tech recovery, I think I could be short at 26.85 with a second position at 65, long at 27.10, double long at 27.40. So I'll trade single positions inside that yellow zone, double positions if it breaks below or above. IP has just been bad. And today on the gap down, it broke below the RL10. The gap down started failing right away, so I put the wide stop on it, and it closed poorly. So we're about +0.5, and if it breaks below 34.70, it should fail big time. No compelling reason for that to be strong tomorrow. Like, that was not an exaggerated sell-off as a result of the regional banks. That's just nobody likes IP. IYR as an alternative asset position there, that actually was one of the stronger movers today. Had an early PSAR flip. So I took the stop at the bottom of the dragon. It closed fairly well. We're about +0.2, and I'm looking for that to get above 84.25 tomorrow. Meanwhile, my stop remains right here unmoved. We're just going to give it a day to shake out. KRE is a new ad. This is the regional banking ETF, and this one was on my radar because of it was a bank failure, and then this had a huge gap down, and then it was a morning hook, which was tradable, and then a second, like a COTA 2 here. So I'm expecting more weakness in the regional banks, and I'm front running a sell-off tomorrow with a tight stop. Made some money intraday on this morning hook, and it was that move that we made some money on. That generated some cash, and that's the cash I'm using to fund the short. If this fails below 42, then it's really going to be gloomy for regional banks tomorrow. I still think we're in early stages of that debacle. Marijuana, I'll be ready to get back short on this one. This was a sympathetic sell-off, and then it just stayed locked in this tight little box. So I'll be ready to go long or short from there. Second position on a breakout of the daily in either direction. So that'll start off one position in the yellow zone and then add. Clean energy, the same deal. It basically did nothing. I'm going to draw my risk box between the two PSARs, and I'd like to see it open inside here in the zero state and then trade it long or short from there. Second positions here, and I think here. Rivian was one that got away. The slide on Friday was pronounced, and today it just continued weakness, and I just feel like I missed the nice orderly move. I'll try to be ready for that tomorrow. It's just not moving a lot, but on the other hand, that persistent sell-off, I think below 1350, we can be short. You may want to wait till 13 and a quarter, but that's where I'd be thinking about adding the second position. On the upside, I'm not interested in it until it breaks above the daily high at 14 and a quarter. Treasuries, I missed this one. There was a nice intraday move on this. The gap up, rollover, that's the tradable move that I missed. Still stalking it. No swing on it yet. Tesla, this one recovered pretty well, actually. I think when Musk proved to be not serious about buying that failing bank, it held support at the PSAR, flipped the PSAR. I took a wide stop on it, like $5 or $4. And I'm looking forward to return to about 182. So I got about 2R to the potential upside, and we're halfway there. So I think Tesla will be an indicator what kind of day we have tomorrow. U.S. Steel, just observed it. It and the other metals were really sideways and choppy. There may be something out of that breakout for tomorrow. Okay, so just a handful of positions, mostly short, one long, and that was the. It was a very relaxing weekend and a relaxing trading session for having exited all those positions Friday. It was that was a comfort. All right, so sniper trade of the day. These are all on 3-minute charts. So here was the Friday close. Here was the gap open. This creates the OR3, that first bar. It failed down through there, so we get short with a standard risk box. Again, that's the R10. Check or hold. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, we get a fail right away, but then it reverses pretty quickly. I was slow to get out of it, so basically a scratch. Slow on the exit. SSC and a PSAR flip. standard risk. It has to get above the high of the day to have a shot at getting back to close the gap. So that makes this space the tactical space, in which the only thing I have to do is get my stop from here above my risk, above my entry, in order to get my risk out and lock in that little wedge of gains. That would be your no lose plus dinner for two, which turns this all into a science project, gets your emotions out of the trade. Check or hold? Micro gain is one of those that looked promising about 1R, failed back through the RL10 and it rolled over, so I essentially kept that little no lose plus dinner for two. We get an emerging dragon. So the Kata 2 formation is in play. And I just waited a little bit longer. Maybe could have gotten it in here. But essentially at this point, that's an emerging dragon. It's the Kata 2 pattern, but I wasn't prepared to take that one right away. I wanted to see the extra confirmation. So we get the standard risk. PSAR is holding pretty strong, and it does a reasonable job grinding north. You know, the PSAR is pretty good to here. 1 unit of risk, so that's about +2. The PSAR flip, you know, happens here. I let it get below this support level here. So I think of that as a collapsing dragon. Standard risk box. Looking forward to get back into this cluster. And take the standard exit at the PSAR flip for about +1. Come on. That would make this a Kata 2, because we now have these two lows. There's your harsh winter. I wouldn't be offended if you called that an SSC. I look at this to call it a Kata 2, but an SSC would be a reasonable description because of the magnitude of that sell-off. Notice how that came all the way back to the previous emerging dragon. You have almost a perfectly symmetrical move up and a move down. Kind of a not quite a stop and reverse. Makes a nice move. PSAR is our friend. The dragon's belly was our friend the whole way up. Each of these little pullbacks only gets into the dragon and then recovers. Notice that the distance up is starting to diminish each time. And now when it rolls over, it's out of gas. That's about +2. So we're right around 5 right now. I thought hard about that one. Should have thought harder and done it. You know, the move, key support level, key resistance level, and the PSAR is your friend at each of those turns. It was getting late in the day. It was after 3 local, so that's, or 3 Eastern, so might have taken that one, but it was too close to the end of the day. So about +5. And that one was in, let's see, that was U.S. Steel. All right, so here's one. This was Friday's close, massive sell-off to gap to here. OR3. It violates the low. So we're short. And that's the size of the risk box. That should tell you just how big this gap in the initial volatility was. This thing was en fuego. So a quick sell off, then starts to reverse. I lock in +1, check or hold. Now it's starting to look like an SSC, but the RL10 can't even get through the PSAR, and when it rolls over, I now treat that like a COTA 2, standard risk, short. If it breaks below the low of the day, I want to add a second position. Doesn't. So we get another +1. And now we have an SSC. And if it gets above this little peak, then it becomes interesting. If it gets above the high of the day, it becomes very interesting. Standard exit. One, two, three, 4, 5. So we've made 2 on the short side and 5 on the long side, and it's about halfway up to close the gap. Wishing I was short. Dang it. Oh, man. So this one, the short would not have lost any money. But now we have a PSAR that is starting to look interesting. And I am tempted to go either direction on the breakout from here. Miss the short. Miss the long. just couldn't pull the trigger on it. Was a bit exhausted from trying to make sense of regional banks, KRE, the regional bank ETF. And that's one that we are short overnight on because we're +7. And I'm holding the short from about in here on the swing. And that's just betting on news. Don't try that at home. Yeah, this is KRE. That was like an 8 or 9% gap down. So we knew it was going to be in play, obviously. All right, just a handful from the traders today. Agnieszka, our intern, trading the Aussie dollar, Japanese yen on the 5 minutes, 1.3. She sees the COTA 2, standard risk to the bottom of the dragon, gets a fraction, gets a re-entry, and 1.3, very orderly move. You know, she might have tried this one after the harsh sell-off and the reversal and then the PSAR flip, but that waiting for that confirmation, there's nothing wrong with that. And then this is the Euro Aussie. She sees this move and takes that one with a standard risk. She's able to hold it below the VWAP. When she sees that one and starts failing again, gets the second position, cashes it at the edge of the dragon for a total of 2.3. Pretty nice day's work, almost 4-hour total. Here's Arch. And he's got the Aussie US on the 5s. There was a, sorry. When this support level breaks, there's your collapsing dragon. 2 legs down. Here's your PSAR flip. That wouldn't lose money. He gets a sideways choppy channel. He tries it just as it's breaking out. Takes the loss. The re-entry indicated was here. That would have paid off. There's COTA 2s in here, both of which would pay off. The PSAR flip pays off. So there were actionable moves in there today. May have gotten just a little gun shy from that one. Woj was tied up in meetings today and internet challenges, so only got one trade in. He got the Euro Aussie also. This is on the 3-minute. So there was a SQC breakout right here. Notice the pinch and then the expansion where his color lines turn to green. That makes this an actionable trade. It would not have lost money. He takes the PSAR flip on this little rebound, locks in 1. And that's all we had time for today. Nice work. So good work from the people. All right. Dashboard number 1. Sideways normal, oversold. Risk is starting to collapse. We're in risk off conditions, so look out below. Still a few of the indexes signaling on channeling, but they're very close to their 200-day moving average. Lots of auto framers here. 3 5-day downs in IBM, 3M, and Pfizer. Weakness in Devon Energy and Goldman and Travelers. So a few of the banks showing some weakness. And then lots of breakdowns on the NDX, some areas of real weakness. Tactical summary. Again, lots of auto framers. Gold in the defensive play, standing out as our treasuries. And then pockets of weakness, real weakness here in energy. So Devon Energy should be on that short list again tomorrow. We're going to go right to the Godzillas. Tons of raging Godzillas. A couple quiet Godzillas in there. This is an oddity right here where you have extreme volatility on the 5-day, but extreme quietude on the short 1-day. That could be a turning point where you had a big sharp sell off and then ending in a tiny little doji. And then that becomes either a recovery or a further collapse after the pause that refreshes. So the fact that you get such a small daily range suggests that the sell-off, those guys are content, and it may be an opportunity for that rebound or a continuation. So I really like that. And I'd be betting on the downside. Some real extreme moves here on the 1-day move. Look at all these that are better than 7-1, the 1-day Z-score. Huge moves in here. Probably there's Schwab getting smoked. Ford, Merck, Citibank. So plenty to choose from in there. Looking at the setups on the auto framer here from TC2000, notice that you've got energy and the metals are really, they are well above that 2-to-1 reward to risk ratio line. So they are really lagging the broader market, which is right here in the S&P. Whereas the semiconductors have had the best resistance to the sell-off. So if we see a bad day tomorrow, I'd be looking to emphasize the metals and energy short. But if it's a good day and tech is good, I'd look to see all the semis because they're all in that good posture. So that's the biggest takeaway that I have on that one. And then if you look at the indexes, in terms of relative advantage, tech is in the best shape for the equity indexes, and the Russell has had the biggest sell-off. So that could be the biggest recovery bounce tomorrow if there's a recovery day. But it would also not be surprising to see tech lead, large cap tech, and then especially the semiconductors as a safe haven. That's odd to say it that way, but that's what it feels like. Um, Big time pain and suffering here. Just a few pockets of joy. The cryptos did pretty well today. Ethereum's looking not bad, knock on wood. Treasury, silver, and gold in the defensive plays, along with blockchain, the crypto ETF. In the frog list of based on trading value, we're looking for strong or large daily range percentage and a consistency in the high frog number. So you're seeing it here: Tesla, clean energy, Nvidia, the top five, and then the next five are in pretty good shape too. Some real good trading symbols inside there, with significant daily moves intraday that you can trade inside their range and make bank. All right, that's everything we got for tomorrow. We'll get this published and processed, and keep your powder dry, and let's be ready for these guys tomorrow.